of the day and welcome again to this Chief Auditor Series. The idea of having the Chief Auditor Series is to get eminent personalities related to internal auditing to speak to all of us and give an opportunity for them to share their experience. We have one fantastic personality today, and as I see his biodata, I see his credentials, I see many things which are in common, but there is one difference which I will say at the end. S Y Raman is the Vice President, Group Internal Audit at the Indian Hotels Company Limited, IHCL, better known as the Taj Properties. He is a seasoned financial professional with over 34 years of work experience. Repeat, 34 years of work experience, and all with the Tata Group. 17 years with the Tata Tea Limited, which then became Tata Global Beverages Limited, and 17 years with IHCL. In the 34 years, he has worked in 11 assignments across 7 locations. At IHCL, he has served as the head of finance at Taj Sats Air Catering Limited, which I'm sure many of us have got the benefit while we have traveled. The erstwhile Taj Business SBU and Taj GVK Hotels and Resorts Limited, a fantastic experience to stay at the Taj. His stints at Tata Global Beverages included being the head of finance / CFO in a Sri Lankan JV, Mount Everest Mineral Water Limited, makers of Himalayan natural water, and Nourish Beverages Limited, which was a Tata PepsiCo JV. Raman is a Kolkata Tamilian. So is my wife. He graduated in commerce from St. Xavier's College, Calcutta. He is a chartered accountant, cost accountant, and company secretary, which is what I am too. Raman is multilingual. I'm not. And he can easily switch between Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, and Malayalam, besides English, of course. Raman is a self-confessed foodie, just like me, and believes in maintaining healthy as well. Again, a similarity. Like most Indians, he follows cricket, just like me, and plays during the weekend too. I don't. He loves nature as I do and connects with it as and when possible, just as I do. I'm not as smart as him. I don't have the experience that he has, and I'm so happy to be interacting with him on this series. Thank you very much, Raman, and we all look forward to hearing from you.
I think eminent personality, Ramanji, and eminent, introduction. Very good, wonderful introduction by Satish in his own way. So a beautiful setting for today's discussion. Over to you, Ramanji, please.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Satish and Deepjee. I'm actually overwhelmed. I didn't know I had so many qualities. I mean, the way you guys described it. Okay, well, that's good. A good start to the weekend for me. What I will do is I will start off. I have a small deck. The deck is more for me to take support of rather than actually a slide deck. So I will go through that, and once we finish, then we can take questions. Just allow me a minute to put the deck on. I will have to share it. One second. Is the deck visible?
Yes, please.
Great. So I will start the deck. So I was not aware of the detailed introduction you're going to give. This is just a summary of my assignments. I joined Tata Tea in 1988. And the Tata Tea at that point of time had a rule that you had to necessarily go through internal audit. So I did 3.5 years of internal audit. I'm not going to go through each of these assignments, but I wanted to emphasize the importance of internal audit because it gave us a good incisive, what should I say, the picture of each of the divisions of the company. Tata Tea had 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 divisions which were key, including the insurance and agencies division, basically to do with the Lloyd's agency. So, excuse me. Excuse me. We got a thorough insight during in internal audit, and once you move from there into operations, it became literally a cakewalk because you knew everything about the divisions, and then you were sitting the other side of the table. I'm not going to go, as I told you, I'm not going to go into details of each of these assignments, but just suffice to say that these were multiple geographies I worked with and the multiple companies I worked with. I have never drafted a resignation letter, even though I worked with so many companies, because it was always a transfer or a deputation or a secondment. I now move into what my job is, and this is my model, Taj Positive Assurance model. Some people say I'm synonymous with TPAM, as we call it. Some people call it a monster in our companies, but I have converted it from a monster to a friendly tool. People were scared of this because internal auditors are generally scary people. So I said that nothing doing. I mean, like, I'm part of you guys and we're all in it together. If somebody points a finger at us, then it is not at you, it's at us. So that said, the genesis of the TPAM was that this was introduced in 2006. So 18 years, I'm right, 16 years back. So at that time, we had 55 units in the Taj, and there were possibly 20 odd firms doing the internal audit. So when 20 firms do the internal audit, then obviously, you know, there is no uniformity in audit. Each partner will do things his style. And those days were not literally the process audits. It was also a lot of financial audit that the team used to do. So to move away from that and from the inconsistencies that could possibly be there, a uniform platform was created. And that's how the TPAM was born. That said, give you a quick picture of the process framework. It covers, the TPAM is generally for the units, the hotel units. We cover 9 business audit cycles, as we call it. It has 41 processes. So what is a process? A process could be revenue management. A process could be rates given to the guest. It could be a process. And then there are sub-processes under that. There are 247 sub-processes. We have identified 800 plus risks. I think it's 849 exactly, 849 risks across these 9 cycles. And we have 2000 plus controls to combat those risks. This will give you a picture of, I mean, we all know this. This is all not new for any of the people associated with internal audit. It's obviously a risk control matrix. TPAM is a risk control matrix where we identify the risks as high, medium, and low. And the controls are critical, essential, and desirable. It also has all the policies and procedures of the company encapsulated. This has been done over a period of time. It was not as if it was done at the beginning. So it's an encapsulation of all the policies and procedures, so that if a rookie gets into the TPAM and he doesn't know whether there is something which he can do or can't do, he needs to just click on a link. It takes him to the relevant process or policy. He can go through it, understand, and immediately he knows what he can do or can't do. At the end of it all, it's a scoring matrix. It is dependent on the existence and effectiveness of controls, and there are weights assigned to each of the risk and control. So it's a slightly complicated model that we have, but it was all done very smoothly. Once you know which control exists or doesn't exist, the scoring becomes very easy. So what did we do? We have, over a period of time, we have made changes to TPAM. I said that, you know, we evolved over a period of time. In the last 8.5 years that I have been in the system, I think I've changed it 7 times. When I say 7 times, I change it, I don't change the entire thing. I add and deduct. So if you can see on the screen, I have added, obviously IFC and ICFR became very important. That became a major amendment. GST came in. And then I noticed that there were a lot of duplicate controls, which basically puts pressure and stress on the operations to do it on a regular basis, to adhere to the controls on a regular basis. So we kind of removed, I think we removed 500 or 600 controls over a period of time. And of course, added more for the other areas. And of course, made it operational friendly. So these were some of the changes that we have undertaken. So that said, I would pause here for a minute and also highlight, whilst it sounded a little simple. Actually, the TPAM has got a maker checker and a review mechanism built in it. And what it helps in is that, okay, if you say that does it prevent frauds? Well, it won't. Understand that we are a manpower oriented company. So it doesn't, it will be so many eyes, so many hands handling the details, data, guests, everyone, and the accounts as well. So it will not prevent fraud, but if you follow the controls defined in the TPAM, it will alert you that something is not right. It will alert you of an unwarranted activity happening in a particular area or sub area. Then you can take precautions against that, or go deep into it and find whether there was something not so right happening. TPAM is a registered trademark. We got it registered under IHCL. That said, now what happened was, when we developed it in 2006, we did it in a very, very, what should I say, rookie-ish manner. And it was all in Excel. It was done in, I think, 9 plus 3, 12 sheets in the Excel. Every unit will have one TPAM scoring model, which will contain all the risks and controls. And at the end of it, you will have a scoring model. So what this led to was some bit of subjectivity. Because if I don't, and we're all humans. So if suppose I don't like person's face, I may choose to kind of not give him, I can play around with the scores. And I don't mean that it happens always, but it can always, you can tweak the scores. So when I came in, I said that this has to go. I mean, we cannot be dealing with subjectivity, especially where we are supposed to be completely independent. So we introduced the digitized model, which became completely objective. It is 99.9999% objective. I'm keeping that 0001 for myself, because that could always be a mistake which happens, and that right only I do. And when I do it with the concurrence of my direct reports. So everyone knows why it has happened. Again, from the earlier model, what we did was we said that if you want to change the score for some reason, of course it can happen. So then you need to put the evidences so that it doesn't become a unilateral way of handling things. So in the digitized model, I have scope for attaching a document or a support document, which then goes to say, this is why the score has been done thus, whatever. The key thing in all of these is that I'm driving this in internal audit, and I keep drilling it into people, is that we have to become process oriented, not person oriented. I know that this may sound a little cliche, because I mean, most internal auditors know this. Why am I saying this? Remember that we are a manpower oriented company. So people keep changing. There is attrition, people keep moving. There are new people coming in. So when that happens, you have a challenge. Because the way Raman works may not be the same that, say, Shyam works. Shyam will have a different way of working. So we say, no, Raman moves, Shyam comes in, his style of working cannot be changed, because the process takes over, the process kicks in and says, okay, hey buddy, you have to do it this way only. So that's what it is. I mean, largely, this is what the digitization can help me. And of course, as you all know, we are growing rapidly. Indian Hotels is adding about 12 to 15 properties a year. And I audit all units every year. So I needed something which a model which is scalable, and this is a completely scalable model. So that's what the TPAM digitization entailed. What we also propose to do going forward is that we want to do function-wise audit. Currently, what we do is, because of the way we are structured and the way we are a co-sourced audit model, where we have a small team in-house and we take the help of the external firms to help us conduct the audits as a panel of firms approved by the audit committee. And then we take their help to conduct the audits. So because they can't, and we have so many units, we can't have them visiting multiple times. So we do one visit or one audit in which everything is covered. So I'm looking at a possibility of conducting it function wise, so that we can do all function. For example, if it is all to do with one particular F&B or banquets, we do across, whether it can be done across. For that, my data has to be available. That is what we are working towards. Once that is ready, my audits can be done function wise. Frequency of checks can be increased. I can define whether I want to do it monthly, quarterly, half yearly, yearly. We also we are also implementing a new abridged version for self-assessment. I mean, we say that at some point of time, I mean, the internal auditors won't like to hear this part, what I'm saying, but there should be a time when there should be no internal audit department. All of us should be internal auditors. All of us should be able to assess ourselves and say, yes, I'm ready for audit. And that's what we are aiming to do. Well, internal audit department won't be closed down because we still have something or the other to do. But we're trying to work out where self-audits or cross-unit audits can be conducted. That said, I'm actually at the end of what my professional journey is, but I thought that I made a couple of points I noted down. Again, these will sound cliched coming from an internal auditor to possibly an audience which is related to internal audit. I think over a period of time, we have all moved out from that bloodhound mindset to watchdog mindset. I think watchdog you should not let go of. We have to be there. Don't be a bloodhound. Don't make yourself so pricey or such that people are scared of you. People don't approach you, because ultimately we are all in it together. And I learned this also, that again, cliched word, audit. The origin of the word audit came from audiere, which is to hear. We all have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So hear a lot, you will learn a lot. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, nobody is. You will get to learn something more from operations. Every day is a learning. And I'm not saying this, especially in, I'm not saying this for any industry. Every industry, you have something new happening. And in our industry, where manpower is huge, you tend to learn, and the dealings are different, because today you have one kind of event, tomorrow you will have another kind of event. So there are newer things happening every day, and we have gone ahead, we have done new openings, if I may say. We have new set of bungalows called Ama. We have the Cumin, which offers eating at home, dining at home. It makes it very easy. So all of those things we are learning, and we are trying to make sure that the controls are in place. One more point which I wanted to mention was that internal audit has to be an enabler. It has to make sure that it is there when people want it the most. But I will not take too much more time. I want to just run through a few more slides, Please. These are my personal learnings. It may not be true for everyone, but I would like you people to indulge me on this. Excellence at work, whether you are an internal audit or any other function, this has to be there. I mean, like, it cannot be something that, oh, I do it once a year, oh, I do it once a month. No, it's like brushing your teeth. You have to do it day in, day out, probably twice a day sometimes. And whenever you think that you are not smelling, your mouth is not smelling nice as often as you want. In our parlance, we have the Tata Business Excellence model. in our parlance, we have these phrases called moments of truth and cost of poor quality. These are two important phrases. Moments of truth are those points of time where you are facing a challenge or you're facing a hurdle. That's why it's called moments of truth. What do you do? How do you react? How do you act at that point of time? So that's why it's called moments of truth. Cost of poor quality, if you don't do a good job of anything, the resultant negative impact is what is cost of poor quality. I don't want to delve too much into it, but we can have a separate session on this altogether. But I just want to take few examples. I can talk on this for hours, but I will just quickly go into these examples. The first one is on ERP with a cook. 25 years back when I was in Cochin, and Cochin is Kerala, and Onam Sadhya is very important during Onam. There was this cook who was making meals for the Janta. Why? Because we were evolving. There were families which didn't know how to cook many items in the Sadhya. So they would reach out to someone to help them cook. So this cook became very enterprising. He started helping people. So he will take orders. Now, remember that he is a cook and he doesn't have too much of education. And it's 25 years back when probably ERP was not being talked about so much. He would take orders. So maybe 100 orders, assuming it's 100 orders. So 78 of them will say like, I want everything, including the elai, the patta in which you eat. And he will take all the orders, the kutu, the sabji, the paisam, the chips, the achar, the papad, everything, and rice and paisam. Someone will say, no, listen, I like a different kind of rice. I don't want rice. Everything else you give. Someone else will say, no, I know how to cook most of the items, but I don't know how to cook the paisam. So he will take orders like that, 78 of them full meals. 20 of them will be, only the paisam. 2 of them will be without the rice. So he'll take that and then add up what each item, how many. So there will be 100 paisams. There will be 98 sabji, this, and including rice, and 2 of them without rice. And then from there, he will then, for every item that I need to make, how much of item. So he needs, say, 20 grams of carrots, 20 grams of drumsticks, whatever. He then used to make a list from there that I need ultimately 5 kilos of carrots, 5 kilos of drumsticks, so many potatoes, etc. And then so much of dal, etc. He would place the order with the grocer or the greengrocer. I mean, I was amazed. I mean, I had not seen anything like that 25 years back. That's one example. So that's excellence. Dabbawalas, I don't want to talk about. I mean, everyone knows about them. They have reached Buckingham Palace. So I'm not someone who should be talking about Dabbawalas. I want to talk about the subtle customer delight. Of course, you people are used to the hotels where the waiters know if you are a regular, even if you're not so regular, they know, this guest likes this particular item. So I have been subjected to, sir, your usual ginger black tea, or sir, your cappuccino without sugar, or whatever. That's the waiter. You can say it's his job. But what about the homemakers? Don't you, when you go to someone's house, you may not be going so regularly, but when you go to someone's house, that house, the lady of the house, it may be the mother, it may be the friend's wife, comes and says, hey, don't give that sabji. That sabji has got bacon in it. And Raman doesn't like bacon, for example. So that is customer delight. I mean, or they'll say, like he doesn't like, or he likes dahi with his meal. So they will give a pot of dahi, even though everyone else is not having dahi, you will have a cup of curd kept next to your plate. Something like that. Those are all customer delight. We need to learn from all of these examples. And the last example is the airline pilot's bag. I don't know how many of you know. The pilot's bag contains all his manuals that he needs to refer to if there is an exigency, God forbid. And also certain other basic amenities that he will require. So it's all there. So it looks like it's a vanity case that he is carrying, but actually it has got everything that he needs to do his function well. Deepjee, just a quick check on time. How am I going?
It is fine. It's absolutely fine because, you can just take 5 more minutes. There's no issues at all.
Go
Because
ahead.
this is all very helpful to the
Yes.
audience, to the participants, to the internal auditors who are listening to all this, So nice.
Thank
Please
you.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The next one, we all know the definition: integrity, honesty. I'm not going to read it line by word, but this is my quote. Integrity and honesty is something you do when no one is looking. Do you cross a traffic light when it is red? Nobody is looking, no policeman, no camera. Do you do that? If I may be a little gross, do you spit on the road? Nobody is looking, I can spit. I'm not going into more gory details of what we can do when nobody is looking, but this is something that we have to kind of imbibe in ourselves, not as auditors, as anyone and everyone. I mean, then the entire community, the society will kind of rise to a different level. I sincerely believe in it. This is another learning I've had: relationships. What should I say? I mean, like, I have built, as you see, so I have had 11 different assignments. I have made friends over a period of time. And I am in touch with most of them. Why I'll say most? Because some people are no longer there. And that's why, because they have passed on to a different world. But I enjoy speaking with them. So if it is, say, Kerala, I call them up during Onam. I'm not in those many WhatsApp groups because that then takes away time, but I'd be in touch with people. And that helps in networking. I mean, networking is a word which is now used. We have started networking. Our parents have started networking a long, long time back. I mean, all of us can kind of associate with that. That said, I, as any professional, develop a helpful nature. Again, the other bullet which talks about exceeding expectations and meeting expectations. These are all phrases which we have defined now. This was all there before. I mean, you ask your father whether he did something more than what his job entailed. He will say, I've done this, I've done that. I want to highlight here a dialogue from the movie Bawarchi, where Rajesh Khanna says that, अपना काम तो सभी करते हैं, कभी दूसरों का काम करके देखो उसमें कितना सुख मिलता है. I mean, I'm not telling it verbatim, I know, but दूसरों का काम करने में जो सुख मिलता है, and then he stops. So it is like that. We should develop this, and I'm telling you, there will be a lot of enrichment. Believe me, it's a win-win. It's a win-win it's a hugely enriching experience for you. Okay, this is my another point which I would like to talk about on leadership. I mean, this is my quote, favorite quote: leaders don't create followers, they create leaders. Over a period of time, I have learned, and I sincerely follow that, get rid of your insecurities. You are what you are. It should come from inside. Your knowledge is with you. Nobody can take it away. So you should not ever feel insecure that, oh, my direct report is, taking the limelight away. You should put all your guys ahead. I have learned this from many of my bosses. They used to push us. Have you ever seen Dhoni never holds the cup when they win it? He always hands it to possibly the junior most guy, and he's thrilled. The junior most guy is thrilled. He's holding the cup and later on champions and all. And Dhoni is standing in the back, putting his hand on something. I mean, that's the leader. I mean, he's great. That guy is, he will become a slave if he wants to Dhoni after that. I mean, that's what it is. And I'm not saying that's how it should happen, but I'm saying you create more and more leaders, and you surround yourself with strong people, strong reports. Automatically, the average goes up. You benefit immediately. You don't have to do anything. They will do, and you are sitting on top of them. You get the benefit. And when the credit comes, share it with everyone. That should be a very, very important criteria. Okay, here I'm going to pause. I'm not going to put up anything on the slide. I'm going to tell you an anecdote. This is, many of you would have read it on WhatsApp, old one, but I'm going to repeat it. So there is this small village-like place, if you can say. There are two railway tracks. One of them is an active railway track. and the other one is a disused one, inactive one. So there is this one kid who takes his small ball and goes and plays in the disused track. And there are about 20 odd other kids who are playing close to the active track. A train is approaching and you are the guy who's at the track interchange. Remember the old one, like track, like you have to do? You are standing next to it and you see that there are 20 kids playing near the active track. That's where the train is going to go. And one kid near the disused one. So typically, it's a challenge. It's an emotional challenge, moral challenge, ethical challenge that we all face. And we all face these kind of problems in our lives, at work, in our communities, in politics, in any democratic society, whatever you want to call it. Ideal thing would be to guide the train to the disused track and sacrifice one kid. Sorry, I'm not going into goriness, but I'm saying that sacrifice the kid. But is that the right thing to do? Because if you think of it, that kid chose the disused track because it is not in action, not active. Those 20 kids knew that it is an active track and still went ahead and played there. Maybe they will move away when they hear the train's hoots. So why are you bothered? Why are you saying that I should send it to the disused track? One. The second thing is, maybe the track is not in use because it is not safe. Because if the train goes there, maybe the passengers will get, maybe they will get injured or whatever. That could be an accident, mishap, whatever. So is it a right thing for us to then send the train on the track which is not in use? So these kind of dilemmas happen, and then that is where the challenge comes in, and we have to do what is right. And therefore, remember that what's right isn't always popular, and what's popular isn't always right. And I'm not saying that don't become popular as an internal auditor or any professional. No, not that way. But don't become only populist. Like some parties give, no, ₹2 mein chawal, electricity free, pani bhi free. Then I will stop working. No, I will not do anything. I will bill rahe sab, chalo, so I will chill. So this is something which is important, especially for internal auditors, but also true for any and every professional. This is actually, I think, my last slide. Life is lived forward and understood backward. I mean, I don't have to explain it. We look ahead, and after we finish, any decision made in hindsight will always be good. So you understand it. Oh, acha, that I could have done this way. So you need you can understand it backward. So as any professional, we should observe, learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is keen. That is key for all of us to follow. Actually, this is the last slide. We recently won the CNBC awards in 3 different categories. Business model adaptability across all segments, all industries, brand and social media management, and of course we won it for the hospitality sector in the large cap category. Business model adaptability was really, I should say, a very important one for us and very prestigious one, because we went through a crisis for the last 2 years. All of you know, airlines and travel industry went through, hospitality industry went through a bad patch. And for us to have risen out of it, the company took debts to pay salaries, and not a single staff was laid off. So from there, we developed new businesses to see how we can shore up the revenue. Cost was anyway there. So, and that's why when we put this in writing, and this has got us the award, it was, my eyes were moist when I heard about the award that we got in business model adaptability. Of course, in any of these, I am just the sutradhar. It cannot be done without the other professionals, the other functions in the company. So with that, I come to the end of my deck.
Wonderful, so many nice things and, absolutely down to earth, and so much work is being done. It is visible, clearly visible, small things you're talking about, cost of quality, the examples which you gave, the airline pilot bag, so down to earth, it's all related to the human behavior, which impacts how one does audit, So I think it's very important to be a good human being, to be a good auditor. So, that gets translated. It is coming out in the slides as you speak, just to ask you, you talked about the TPAM model, a beautiful model, because you have built an assurance model across processes on risk and control, integrated the IFC, the risk management or risk mitigation controls that you would be having, the risk and controls you would have identified and tried to put it together. How does it work when you outsource it to different service providers? Because you have to hand it out to people, and then they in turn will have to hand it out to their teams. So how do you ensure that all this is translated to the teams? Because the teams will keep changing with the outsourced CA firms. So how do you ensure that this all gets done and then it's uploaded correctly, this is reviewed, and then again discussed with the stakeholders? So first is, how does it all work with outsourced service providers? How do you educate them and bring quality to them? And number two is, what is the how does it get translated? How does it get informed to the process owners? How does it get informed?
Okay. So the first one,
how does it get informed to the process owners,
Okay. So first one, we have a panel of 9 firms who work for us. And how we, so on selection of the firms, some firms have offices across India, some firms are localized, they're only west based or south based or north based, whatever. There's no one from Calcutta, not very many firms from Calcutta. But anyway, so what we do is that it's a co-sourced model, Deepjee. What it means is that we are a team of 3 in-house, and the firms give us the rest of the manpower. So I've kept it variable. So if today I have 100 hotels, I need so many firms and so many teams of the firms doing the job. Tomorrow when I become 200, I'll still be 3 people. Maybe I'll become a 4th, I'll add a 4th member, but I'll have so many more firms, or maybe the firms will get more teams to work for us. So it's a variable model, number 1. Number 2, we train the audit firms yearly, every year. Every year, the team, there is a training session which will happen just before the audit start to tell them what the TPAM is, what the changes are, etc. 3, any newcomer, new manager into the teams, the firm's teams, are then separately trained. In case he has a doubt, he reaches out to us, he's trained separately. 3. The 4th one is that we have, we start the audit. Our team member starts the audit. We are coordinating with the hotel units or the offices, whatever. And when the audit is in progress, we are constantly monitoring what they are doing. Anyway, the scope is defined, the coverage is defined. So they need to do all of those. We check we monitor whether it's been covered or not, number 1. 2, we check whether the quality is good or not, whether something needs to be added. They reached particular point saying this could be a potential risk and left it, or did we go deeper into it, whether there was a mishap there which we could have unearthed. So those kind of checks are done by us, and we also have a manager or a partner from the firm also looking into it, so that we don't have a problem. That's why I'm saying the uniformity will not be lost with any firm. But we are obviously, we're all humans, we are happy with the same set of 9 firms. At one point of time it was 5, we have built it up to 9. So with business increasing and with locations increasing, we are adding one firm every now and then. That said, from the process owner's point of view, it's all digitized. So its access is given to the person concerned. So if the person is working in a particular hotel, say Taj Mahal, Mumbai, Colaba. So the general manager and FC already have access. They can go into onto their laptop, open, it's an SSO, open it, put in your password, you can immediately see what your only your property you can see, and you can see what the observations are, what the exceptions are, all of that they can see, and the annexures. If suppose we have stuck an annexure saying these are the 10 issues that we have in this observation, they can see that as well. We have gone one step further now. This was original. Now what we have done, the housekeeper can go and see what the housekeeping problems are. The front office guy can go and see what the front office problems are. The banquet guy can see, okay, banquet, the F&B guy can see all the F&B outlets, including banquets, engineering, and so on and so forth. So we have made it so when the audit is done, I close the audit, a mail goes to all the people concerned saying the audit is now closed. There are 3 observations in your years, or whatever that says. You go and click on it. It takes you there. You feed in your password and go in, and you can see what are the 3 observations in your area. And if you have to reply to that, reply with an annexure, and that can be then taken on record. So there is a process we follow. So there is a field audit which happens. Then there is a quality check which happens. Then there is a draft report which is discussed with the team, with the HODs, heads of department and unit, and then with the general manager and the financial controller. And then we go into the next mode, which is finalization. And then a distillate of it also goes to the audit committee.
Okay, great.
Very nice.
Did that answer your question, Deepjee?
Yes, absolutely. Because you're dealing with so many process owners, and you have so many observations, deviations which would come up, in different processes, because it's a live environment. There are people moving around, it's
Raman, I think I don't know whether to hashtag this episode as hashtag internal audit or hashtag life lessons. I think it's a very close toss up, but we got the best of both. That much I can assure you. My question is on the first part of your presentation, when you spoke about starting your career as an internal auditor, and that's how Taj and Tata has that policy. And I have also come from I worked in L&T, and in L&T too we had this policy, and I've been a beneficiary of this policy. Can you elaborate a little more? I think there'll be many people in the audience who will want to hear what has come out as clearly as benefits of starting a career in internal audit.
So as I mentioned, the benefit of working or starting your career in internal audit and in a company like Tata Tea, you, first of all, you are traveling to various units and different types of units. And though there it's all estates. Here I'm talking about hotel units, there it's estate units. So we had plantations in Munnar. I started my life in Munnar. People go there for honeymoon. I started my life as a honeymoon. Of course, I was alone. So Munnar I started. Munnar is in Kerala. The culture is mostly Tamil because the labor is Tamil. Even a North Indian, a Punjabi assistant manager or general manager, hotel unit manager has to learn Tamil. They have to give a test and pass the test. Otherwise, you can't work in Tamil. And Tamil is a slightly difficult language for North Indians. So I started my career there. You travel to different units. Kerala and Tamil Nadu. We had 6 units and 6 estates in Tamil Nadu. Culture, I mean, it's in the different parallel range of hills, but the culture is different there. You go and see something different happening. Different means you can't have estate practices won't be different. The way you behave, the way you work. Okay. From there, I went to Assam. Completely different. Again, estate practices are the same, but the way the culture is different. And I'm not saying one is good and one is not. I'm not saying that. It's a different culture. In Assam, there is a word called dastur. Dastur means, what should I say, habit, or I think it's culture in a different way, but ये चलता आ रहा है जो बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, दस्तूर है वैसा. Bengal, I didn't go to Bengal, the Duars units, I didn't go so many times, but then even they have a different culture and everyone has a different style of working. End result is the same. So you learn a little bit from everyone. And I'm telling you, I personally have benefited from different cultures. And this was only estates I'm talking about. Then you went into the agencies division. Then you went into something called packaging center. Packaging center was where all the tea, those days we were an integrated tea company where we had plantations, we had the brand, we had the packaging center, everything. Now those have been, those are treated as separate, plantation companies, brand company and all that. So the packaging center you go, it was a pleasure to just watch how it was packaged, how clean it was, the way it is clean. What you get in a green color pack saying Tata Tea Premium or something, you just see that. You see what goes behind. It's like saying that we created one P&L statement in one page. Uske piche how much of work has gone, nobody knows. You say, why did you take so long to prepare one P&L statement? You see uske piche kitna kaam hua. Anyway. So similarly, anything that a thing of beauty, you have to see what goes behind. So when you go to the packaging center, then you know the nuances of what goes on there, the quality checks which are there and all of that. And agencies division, which was to do with insurance and CNF and all of that, that was a completely different division. So you pick up a little from there. It's like saying that you pick up all the good things from there and put it, remember that. I mean, it's the same with anyone and everyone. If you have different kind of bosses, I mean, bosses or seniors, let's not say bosses, seniors, you may pick a good point. Somebody is very organized. You may want to follow that. Somebody is very human. Somebody is very friendly. You may want to pick up that. I mean, you don't want to have only one stereotype character that, so that's what I'm saying. It's a little bit that the way in internal audit, especially since you have the advantage of being in that position and traveling to different places, you pick up these nuances of operations. And as a rookie, when you are like a, what should I say, wet clay, you are then molded into a proper form. And I know it's all these sound a little philosophical, little cliched, but actually it is true, because your thought process is practically zero. You don't know, unless you are been born worldly wise, which I was not. So you go into it and then start learning the process, and you already have the knowledge that this is how things have to be done. Then you go and wet your hands, dirty your hands, and that really helped. And you won't believe, actually, I don't think it was by design, but even the head of audit would move to head of finance. Wow. It was a norm in those days. Now, of course, everything has changed because the company itself has had a different structure now.
Wonderful.
I hope that answered your question.
Did.
Ramanji, one question to you. Since you have so many properties and each property is a living organism, and as we are talking philosophical, that's how you're connecting to people, because that's how you connect with people, be a good human being, be a good internal auditor. So each property is a living organism. Now we are running this assurance model at each property through your own staff and through, collaboration with outside firms who have been selected through a particular process. So you're running that. But at each property, there are two things happening. If you step back, there are some good practices being done at a particular unit, which can be replicated across units. At the same time, there are risk incidents which were not earlier there and which happen at a particular property. And then, you have to take care that they are not happening at other properties, so there are learnings for the other properties. So how do these risk incidents and the best practices, both of these things get built into your model? Maybe the risk incidents would get built through the assurance model. But what about the best practices? Because usually people miss out on, looking at the good things which a unit is doing, which can be replicated or which can be formed as a learning separately for across units. So how does your function, take care of that, to ensure that, it is good for the organization?
So very, very good question, and can come only from you, Deepjee. Of course, let me take the negative part first. The risk incidents, what we do, we come to learn of it when we do the audit or a separate process improvement study or something. When we pick it up, it may be mid-year, as in you have already finished, say 40 to 50% of the audits, and the other audits are pending. So you pick it up, and at that point of time, you can't go and undo the other audits. But going forward, we start looking for it in the other units as well and sealing that. At that point of time, I'm not able to do anything to the digitized model. I am keeping it, it's done manually for that rest of the year, maybe for the 4 or 5 months which is left. When the new season starts, it gets inputted as a process, as a control for that particular risk. So that will take care of the audits for the year, and going forward, it is already there in the system. That is one. The best practices, what we do also happens this way, that if we learn of something which is being done different, we immediately again go into the next year and add it into the as a control, which will help me conduct audit, which will help the units also take it up. And this is, when I say this, it may sound, oh, it is inside the laptop, how is it going to happen? But then the guy who's got access, he goes and checks the controls that he needs to follow. Oh, there is a new one which has come. Okay, let me go through it. So he understands that. Now, what I'm saying is, it happens only if you go and see it. If you don't go and see, you're not going to learn anything. So that is very, very important.
Right.
Absolutely. That's how life is.
Satish.
You talked about the Taj positive assurance model. And I think, the word itself, being positive assurance. So the intent is very clear. I think that was a real top learning for me, that positivity is the important thing. You also spoke about aha moments, moments of truth, the airplane pilot bag and all of that. And Deepjee has also asked you a question about all of those. I want to direct a little attention of yours onto the feedback mechanism that you, I'm sure, have with the auditees. Maybe you didn't get the time to talk about it, or you had so many other things to talk that you didn't talk about this. But I want to, ask you, how do you, what is the system you follow for getting a feedback, and how is that feedback mechanism helped you to get better and better?
So we unfortunately could not have a feedback mechanism fed into the model.
Yes.
But what we do is that none of my audits can be closed without a comment from the unit, from the auditee or auditee function. So if I say that, oh, there are these 10 problems in this area, and I send it to, say, the front office person, he goes through and it's a drop down. So you picks up one by one, and he has to reply saying that this is not a problem because this has got a compensatory control, and he sticks that piece of paper. I have an attachment facility for attaching. He attaches that. It comes back to the auditor or audit firm or me or whoever, and we go through it and say, yes, this is perfect. Okay, that goes out. So it is one way the feedback is coming. The second way is that they say that, like Deepjee also asked, this is a unique thing which is happening. How can we combat this? So they come back to us. So we then give, as I said, a practical solution. I mean, I cannot be sitting on a high horse and say, no, do this way. So we give that apart. And I cannot close an audit without touching upon all the controls. I have a manual intervention possible. I don't exercise it at all. It has to, every control has to be checked. Every relevant control has to be checked. If you don't check it, you will get when you try to close the audit, it will say 40 controls are pending. It will say these pending. So tell me whether I should close it with this being pending. It will remain there for posterity. You come 3 years later and check, 40 controls we didn't do in this unit. So all those is there. But that apart, what we do is we do a survey of the audit. We don't do it every year because we don't have so much of movements among the seniors every year. So last we did was 4 years back. 2 years was anyway pandemic. We are talking to people regularly, so there's nothing happening. But we did a survey. I intend doing one at the end of my current season, which is still getting over. We'll then take feedback. We put simple questions. Are you doing it only because you've been told to, or are you doing it because you want to? So we get different answers. There are the crazy ones also, which says that, listen, I'm not interested in what you do types. And we have told them very clearly, open your heart and talk. I will not be able to touch base and see who has replied what. It's completely anonymous. I mean, I can, of course, go and see the IP address and pick it up. I swear we have not done it. So people can go and give whatever feedback they want. Not a problem.
Perfect. In L&D, we used to call it the voice of the customer.
Absolutely.
Great. So I think Ramanji, now is the pleasant task to sum it up. So first of all, such a wonderful presentation. Very difficult for me to sum it up because each slide, each sentence you said, as you rightly said, you can expand on it for, ages. You can spend a day talking about it. There are so many anecdotes and so many things. But what is coming out is, as an individual, excellent, Ramanji, your presentation and the way you have put it, it comes out so nicely that how wonderful you are as a person and how system-driven, process-driven at the same time with a human touch. So, you kept saying about things. So what I'm saying is that you talked about the TAJ positive assurance model. Brilliant, because with such a big geographical spread, with so many people, it's so intensive, it's so human intensive, hospitality industry is so human intensive that you need to put some processes which can, be, consistent, uniform across the region, so that you can keep feeding into it and keep updating the model and keep, working on it, so that, you bring some sort of semblance to the entire thing which is moving around. So that's number one. Number two, you talked about, leaders don't create followers, leaders create leaders. And, you give so many examples across. Wonderful. So I think this has been, I would not like to sum up all those things, because it would not be right on my part, to even, touch upon those things. But the entire presentation is a great learning for all the chief auditors, for all the internal audit fraternity. I would just say that, personally, Satish and I think before this session started, we were talking about the Taj hospitality. We have enjoyed it. We have stayed at various Taj properties, and this presentation was also an excellent presentation, just like the Taj feeling, wow feeling. When you enter Taj, you have a wow feeling, you feel hospitality means Taj. So similarly, this presentation has also touched the hearts for Satish and me, and I think it will do a wonderful thing for the participants. So today I have done a different sort of sum up. I have not tried to sum it up. I've just conveyed our feelings to you and to all the participants, that there's such a lot of learning available from this. Follow the processes. I think what are two great learnings coming out of this entire presentation is follow processes, build processes, have a human touch. Be humble, work with humility, and deliver. So I think great, really great. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. It was indeed a great pleasure to speak on this and to kind of portray what we have done. And of course, Taj is supreme. I mean, I had to live up to Taj standards. That's why I had to do all this.
You're not only met expectations, you've exceeded
expectations.
Thank you very much, Deepjee. Thank you, Satish.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Ramesh. Thanks a lot.